I'm on Sunday. Thursday show was a blast, but today is Bitcoin is Freedom. As you guys know, I'd like to first thank our sponsor, Roundly X. Listen, you can purchase Bitcoin and other crypto assets with spare change using their Roundup technology. It's phenomenal, and it makes it super easy because once you connect your card, when you round up, you just going about your regular day, and it's happening in the background, right? You can even do routine purchases of crypto assets because they partner with the best exchanges. So do me a favor, go over to Roundly X and put in Bitcoin is Freedom, and you're going to get $4 in Bitcoin to use. So do that for me, and let's go ahead and get on with the show.
Let's get started.
Folks, I'm back. Yeah, I had a little bit of technical problems there at the very start. But hey, listen, thanks for coming back to Bitcoin is Freedom. This is Paul McNeil. I curate news every day, guys. That's what I do. And today I'm going to review the week that we just had. But then I'm also going to discuss a very important point that a lot of people have talked about. And I went back and curated some of the shows where people have been talking about how much Bitcoin you need to retire on, how much Bitcoin you need to be rich, right? How much Bitcoin do you need to be free? And that's sort of what I want to talk about. Before I get into that, I am going to start talking about the previous week's review first. That way you guys can sort of get caught up. And this is for just last week. So on Monday, here's what was going on. And what I'm doing is I'm showing you the most covered articles that got talked about the most, the price, the fear and greed index, and then the actual podcast of the day, because I always pick a podcast of the day. So on Monday, if you can remember back that far, this is when we got news about the whole Paxos Binance kerfuffle, right? And this is where Paxos and Binance was terminating their partnership and the stable coins started having issues. In addition to that, the news that got the most coverage was also about paying your taxes with crypto in Brazil. And Brazil is one of the countries that are starting to get on board with more friendly regulation when it comes to Bitcoin and other cryptos as well. Now, the price on Monday was around $21,808.10, and the fear and greed index was about 48. So we were just coming off the weekend of fear for the most part. And as you'll see, as we make progression through the week, that index increases. Now, a really great podcast to listen to is the Bitcoin Matrix. This is with Tor de Meester talking about the Bitcoin Reformation. And that's a really good podcast. You guys should check it out. So now, as we got to Tuesday, Binance and Paxos actually shut down the BUSD tokens, right? Paxos came out and said, that's it, we're done. We're not going to deal with BUSD anymore. And this is primarily because the regulation that's coming out. We know we've been in a very strict regulatory environment, and that's what led to this. And is all of this coordinated? Some people think that this regulation that's coming out is coordinated and it's causing all these problems. If you can remember, Kraken just got fined $30 million that they paid. There was rumor about Binance. There was rumor about Circle. There was rumor about Coinbase. There's rumor about a whole bunch of people when it comes to regulation. This was causing a lot of it. In addition with that, UK FCA came out and they were taking acts against the illegal crypto ATMs. Now, again, we're starting to see the regulatory environment become very constrictive, and it's going to be interesting to see who can actually survive this environment. The price on Tuesday got to $22,220.80, so we were going up, and so the fear and greed index boosted up a little bit as well. Our podcast of the day was Bloomberg Cryptos. Some Wall Street firms are looking bullish on crypto, and you got to pay attention to what's going on beside price, because as Mark Yusko says, is a liar, right? Price is a liar. All price is going to do is either get you super fearish or super greedy, and that's all you're going to be focused on. But in the background, more and more building is actually taking place. So don't get, taken by price. Price is going to be what it is, but just focus on everything else. Well, as we got to my favorite day, hump day, it was Wednesday, and we saw that FTX bail grantors got revealed. And so news came out about who was actually bailing old Sam Bankman-Fried or Scam Bankman-Fried, or however you want to call his name. There have been so many names for him. And so that was very interesting from that perspective of seeing who it was that was backing him and getting him out. Now, if you also know, news came out that they were saying that the judge is talking about tossing old boy back in jail. So it's going to be interesting when that happens. On Wednesday, price took a nice little pop from 22 to 24, right? Two grand pop. $24,307.84. The fear and greed index popped up to 53. And the podcast of the day was Bitcoin and the start of the information era with Luke Broyles, Bitcoin fundamentals. This is with Preston Pitch. You're going to want to listen to this podcast. Of all podcasts, this would be my podcast of the week. Okay, now let's go on to Thursday. We saw Bitcoin surge to a 6-month high, hitting $25,000, but then it pulled back. But the price that we have is $24,686.22. But we know that it made it over 25, and it also did that today, went over 25,000 again. 25,000 is that critical point because that's where the 200-week moving average is coming into, 200-week moving average is coming into play. They call it a death cross. We're going to see what happens as a result. There's a lot of people bearish. There's a lot of people bullish. We're going to get into that later on in the show. The fear and greed index was 62, and the podcast of the day is our good friend Scott Melker, the Wolf of Wall Street, talking about why investors believe in Ethereum, and that's with James Butterfield, and that's when you want to listen to if you're a big Ethereum believer. As we scoot on over to Friday, we see the SEC suing Terraform Labs. Do Kwon misled investors and shifted, get this, 10,000 Bitcoin into some account. They better go find this dude and shake him down because he's got a lot of Bitcoin. And that's not $10,000 Bitcoin. That's 10,000 Bitcoin, people. It's a lot of money, right? We saw price of Bitcoin pull back a little bit, $23,710.59. And the fear and greed index, although it pulled back a little bit. It was 62 the day before, 61. And our podcast of the day is Gary Gensler on a mission to put the crypto down for good. That's with Lars Shan over at Unchained Capital. Definitely want to listen to that if you're into the regulatory space. So let's get on to the topic of the title of my show today. How much Bitcoin do you need to be free? And that's a great question to ask, right? How many Bitcoin do you need to be free? Well, let's start off with Cointelegraph. They wrote up an article, and this was back in 2021, maybe. I think it was last year, or a couple of years ago, I think it was. Anyway, the title of the article is Want to be Rich? Bitcoin's limited supply caps mean you only need 0.01 Bitcoin. Well, that's false. And I'll tell you why. Let's do the math, right? So as we look at our next slide, we're going to do the math. Here's the deal, people. 0.28 Bitcoin is what most people say you need to be rich or to be part of the 1%ers or to be free and all this other kind of stuff. And if you start looking at the numbers, if Bitcoin was to reach $100,000, which we haven't gotten there yet, which they promised to us in 2021, never did happen. We know what happened after that. It would equal $28,000. Now, I ask you the question. I don't know everybody's situation. Everybody's situation is probably different. But does $28,000 make you free? Does $28,000 make you rich? Does $28,000 retire you? I'd be willing to say no. I'm just going to go out on a limb. Now, again, from the U.S. perspective, no. A developing country, maybe yes. Maybe that $28,000 would go a long way. If Bitcoin reached $1 million, you'd have $280,000. Not bad. I mean, here in the United States, you could probably stretch that a little bit. You can't really retire on that, I don't think. Maybe you can. Listen, my mom didn't have $280,000, and well, she really didn't retire, but the point is she still lived. So you don't need $280,000 in the bank in order to live. So quality of your life might be in question, but maybe if Bitcoin reaches $1 million, and many are forecasting Bitcoin to reach $1 million by the year 2030. So if Bitcoin reaches $1 million by 2030 and you have 0.28 Bitcoin, you're going to have $280,000 in the bank. Again, not bad. If Bitcoin has reached $10 million of Bitcoin, a lot of people believe that that too could happen, but that's probably going to be 2040, 2050. it'd be worth 2.8 million. Now, we're starting to talk retirement money here, right? Because if you had 2.8 million and you were earning some type of a yield on that money, interest on that money, you could probably live, if it's 4%, 5% off of that and have a decent life. And if Bitcoin reaches hyper-Bitcoinization, $100 million of Bitcoin, which some believe that's going to happen. My good friend Obi-Wan Kenobit has an article about that. I should have linked it here. And that would be $28 million. And if you can't retire and you can't be free with $28 million, come talk to me. We need to have a conversation. Now, what would that cost today, right now? Well, in order to get 0.28 Bitcoin, you need to dump about $7,000 into Bitcoin and you've got it. That's at $25,000 of Bitcoin. You're home free. Take $7,000, put it in Bitcoin today, walk away, put that on a hardware wallet, you're done. Wait, just wait until Bitcoin reaches $1 million. Wait till it reaches 10 million. Wait till it reaches 100 million, and you're done. All the rest of your money, you can do whatever you want to with it. Just put that 7,000, set it, and forget it. Maybe there's something there, maybe there's not. Now, on my next slide, I'm talking about the voices. These are YouTube channels that have been talking about this. Now, Altcoin Daily have been notorious for this. I've dinged them a little bit for this because they've had guests on talking about if you have 0.0001 Bitcoin, you're going to be in the top 1%, you're going to be rich. And okay, guys, cut it out. Not true, not true, not true. Invest Answer said 0.24 Bitcoin, right? And you'd be in the 1% club. And you very well might be in the 1% club if you spread Bitcoin evenly across all 8 billion people. If you have 0.24 Bitcoin, you're in the 1% club. Okay, but what does that really mean? Don't know. Carl Moon said 0.28, right? He was on Altcoin Daily as well. Lark Davis said 1 Bitcoin. And I would have to agree with Lark Davis. If you can get 1 Bitcoin, this is what Charlie Lee said, right? Charlie Lee said, work to own 1 Bitcoin before you own anything else, because Bitcoin is where it's at. And I am with Lark Davis. I'm not a big fan of his show, and whatever. But the point is, because I think they get very sensationalized with their headings, clickbait, yada, yada. But he's saying the truth with 1 Bitcoin. And then my financial friend said anywhere from 2 to 3 Bitcoin, and you could consider yourself having enough to be able to retire on. And to, now, again, we're talking age too, right? My financial friend also goes into the charts and graphs to look at the numbers based on age and everything. If you're 20s, if you're 30s, if you're 40s, if you're 50s, how much Bitcoin you're going to need at those ages. We do this right now with traditional finance and our 401ks and our stock portfolios, right? The same thing goes for Bitcoin. You need to start thinking about how much Bitcoin do I need in order to retire if Bitcoin is going to do what we believe it's going to do and some. And I believe that's the case. So now what I want to do is I want to look at projections, right? Because in this market, there are a lot of projections. So we have these things called a machine learning algorithm. AI is the big thing across the world right now. ChatGPT, and there's a whole bunch of them. I can't name them all, but there's a bunch, Jasper. There's a bunch of AIs out there doing all kinds of crazy things. Well, this is a machine learning algorithm, and this is what it says. So if you take a look at these numbers, and I've went back last month and looked at what it said at the beginning of the year. And guess what, guys? It nailed it on every last one. So here we are. This is what it's projecting for the end of this month, which is going to be another couple weeks. Bitcoin, at the time that it made this prediction or this projection, it was trading at $22,840.14. It said it's going to end February at $24,342. Guys, we've been there, we've went above it, we've gone below it, right? We're floating around this number. If Bitcoin stays pretty much sideways for the rest of the next couple of weeks, voila, the machine learning algorithm called it perfectly. So what that would have done for you, had you bought Bitcoin when it said at 22,840 to 24,000, you got yourself pretty much a $2,000 profit. Not bad for a machine trading algorithm. Ethereum, 1641.79 cents, right? And it says it's going to end the month actually down. So Ethereum in this picture, if the algorithm is correct, would not be a good bet to buy, because it's going down. Now, what's going to happen in March? Who knows? Maybe it goes up. Maybe it predicts it up. XRP, Cardano, Dogecoin, Solana. You get the point. You guys can look through this slide and see if you got some of these projects you really love. These are the top 10 digital assets, by the way. So that's pretty much where I focus. That's pretty much where the media focuses as well. It doesn't predict anything outside the top 10 that I know of. Now, if we look at the crypto community, they're calling for Bitcoin to be at $20,000 by the end of the month. Now, this is interesting because I have seen this sentiment with a lot of the crypto community. They're thinking this has been a bull trap. This has been, a dead cat bounce, whatever you want to call it. All of these things, the 200-week moving average is not going to let it go above it. It's going to pull back to 12 and all this other kind of nonsense, right? So they are predicting Bitcoin to be $4,000 lower than what the machine trading algorithm is. Let's see who wins, man or machine. This is going to be a great contest to watch. All the others, they pretty much were in line with what the machine trading algorithm said. So that I found interesting as well. But Bitcoin is the one that I think they might be a little bit off on. Okay, now let's take a look at our analysts, strategists, and traders. In the news that I curate, the publications, mostly the Daily Huddle, they track what these people say. Some of these folks, I really don't know if you guys put stock into what they say or if they're super good. I know I went back at one point and did some curation on their projections and stuff. And what I found is a lot of these guys, they flip-flop. One day they're saying bullish, next day they're saying bearish. It's really hard to nail them down. Rarely do they stick to their guns, or they'll make statements about both, it going up and down. And then over time, they will say, you remember, I was right back in November when I said that Bitcoin was going to go bullish. Well, at the same time, which we don't remember, they also said it was going to drop. So it's a little sleight of hand trick that these guys use a lot. And so I'm starting to put some attention to it. So with that being said, the ones that are bullish is Altcoin Sherpa, Smarter Contractor, Kaleo, Michael Van de Poppe. They all believe that we could see Bitcoin push higher above 25K, even toward 30K before this bull run peters out, right? And that's good to know. And that's what I've seen most of the sentiment say on the bullish side, is that this thing is pushing us toward 25 to 30K. And that's probably where this run will top out. Now, Novogratz says 30K this quarter. So Novogratz thinks that we can go through the rest of this month and March and still not reach or still be around 30K, which I'm not going to argue would be phenomenal, right? Listen, we have come out of the worst crypto winter ever, and Bitcoin is at 30K. I would be okay with that, with the intent that we're going to be marching higher, right? I'm not going to shake a stick at that. Now, Pentoshi and Don Alt believe that Bitcoin could rally as high as 32K before it's done. So they're inching a little bit higher. And then Dave the Wave says the bottom is in. He agrees with Pantera Capital, who said the bottom was in back in December. And he believes the 2019 style play setup is in play. Now, bullish of all bulls is Martin S. Buzzy Swartz. He said he believes Bitcoin is primed to rally to $56,000 as the NASDAQ breaks out of the bull flag. Now, there was not a time frame on that, but it was this year, right? So 56,000 this year. And I would be okay again if Bitcoin were to end the year at 56,000. You won't see me crying at all. I'd be ecstatic, right? Because again, we've come from 20,000, actually lower than 20, like 15.5 or 15.7 to 56 in 1 year. I'll take it, right? And then 2 days ago, the 2 month stochastic RSI chart indicated extreme bullishness. So we, again, have indicators, have sentiment pushing us toward the bullish side. You can find this full deal at Woobits. That's where I've posted this full blog post. Please check that out when you get a chance. Okay, let's look at the bearish. As we look bearish, there's a lot of people talking. So, and this was a couple days ago, Rhett came out and he indicated that Bitcoin could be setting itself up for bearish price action in the coming weeks. Now, he didn't say days, weeks, but that was before the market had broke out above 24K. He made that statement before we got to 24. Now, Jason Pisano believed that Bitcoin is still bullish, but he thinks the top crypto by market cap can go lower in the short term. El Capo of crypto. There's a lot of news about this guy because he apparently has exited Twitter because he's incredibly bearish. He is shorting Bitcoin right now and has been shorting Bitcoin for a while. So he disappeared from Twitter saying he's still short. I think he's going to get wrecked if he stays short because he's expecting this thing to go to 12. And I don't know, folks. I'm not expecting it to go to 12, but he's expecting to go to 12. If this thing starts to rally toward 30, 32, 35, he's going to get wrecked. So he's going to be like wrecked. He really should not try to stick to his guns on this unless he knows something we all don't know. Now, Ben Cowan comes out and he's warned that Bitcoin might repeat a .com crash pattern that's ominous, and that signal starting to flash. And then we got Mike McGlone, of course, from Bloomberg. He's issued warning saying Bitcoin's facing a massive threat from rate hikes and recession, but so far that hasn't materialized. Now, yesterday, our good friend Smarter Contractor has flipped bearish on us, and he's indicating a pullback is near. And then today, Justin Bennett tossed his hat in the ring and said he believed that 20K is on the way. Folks, listen, whatever you do, you can listen to these folks, but please don't let them make your financial decisions for you. It can be dangerous, right? You need to take all of this stuff in and then use your own brain and look at the market and determine, is this really where I think the market's going to go? Now, listen, which way the market's going to go is up for debate for a lot of us. So we really don't know. So just remember to be patient with Bitcoin. As they say, time in the market is better than timing the market. And if you ever want to become free, you really do need to allow Bitcoin to do its work. Now, I want to read you this poem, which is by Fortune Note. He's one of the people that's on WooBits, huge influencer in the WooBit space, and he had this poem. So I want to read it because I thought it was really cool, and so hopefully you will enjoy it as well. He says, "The markets are volatile. That much is true, and I agree with him, but don't let that discourage you. For with knowledge and discipline, you'll come out on top too. Roses are red, violets are blue, but trading markets can be unpredictable. It's true. You'll need to stay sharp and on your game and have the fortitude to weather the storms that come your way. The ups and downs can be a wild ride, but with patience and strategy, you'll take it in stride. Remember to keep your head up and stay focused on your goals, and you'll find success as the market unfolds. So take the time to study, learn, and grow. And with patience and perseverance, you'll start to know the ins and outs of the market's flow. It may not be easy, but with dedication and drive, you'll navigate the markets and come out alive. For with knowledge and discipline, you'll come out on top too and find the sweetest success, just like the roses and violets do." So thanks, Fortune Note, for making that poem. It was absolutely phenomenal. Listen, folks, the best way to contact me and get in touch with me and follow me is by going to my website, thecryptocurator.com. On there, you're going to find all of the information that you need, the top 3 news articles of the day. You're going to find the video of the day, the podcast of the day, both of my shows, and actually some extra information below for those of you who make it down that far. It's incredibly some good information down there, how ways to buy digital assets, and also how to avoid taxes when it comes to crypto, which everybody knows this is tax season right now. And the best time to start planning for taxes is not in April. The best time to start planning for taxes is January 1st of the year. So do not get yourself caught off guard by waiting till the year ends, then start the beginning of the following year to work on your taxes. It's too late. There's nothing you can do. You can't adjust. So please take some time to check that out. Finally, let me say this. Bitcoin Live family continues to grow. I can't let any cats out of the bags, but we've got some good stuff coming down the line. Listen, my shows, Bitcoin's Freedom, Bitcoin Politics, I'm covering topics to help you out understand the markets, help you understand what's going on Capitol Hill. Our good friend Cap Hill Crypto, he's put together some really good stuff. And I believe he's probably going to come on the show Thursday. So George Leonardo very well might be on the show on Thursday. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping the timing works out for us to take a look at what's going on in Capitol Hill. In addition to that, we've got Gingerly. That was on right before me. Those guys did a phenomenal job at talking about ordinals. I haven't gotten into NFTs yet. Hopefully one day they might pull me in reluctantly into NFTs. In addition, we got 3D Changes that has a show. We have a couple other shows in there. I don't remember know the entire lineup. But listen, the Bitcoin Live family is growing. There is more and more quality content coming your way for those of you who tune in. If you tuned in and you listened to me today, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you're watching this, please remember to like and subscribe and ring the bell. Why? Because you'll get notified and you won't have to watch the rerun. You'll watch it live. Get it? Bitcoin Live. Okay, folks, I want to thank our producer, Nick, for all the hard work he's doing. He is working from sun up to sundown to make this platform what it is. Thank you, Nick. Really appreciate that. And with that, folks, I'm going to say enjoy the rest of your Sunday and get ready for a fire week.